Hello and welcome everyone. So once again, we are here to talk about the chapter 3, that is ruling the countryside. Before that, the Dalmia core promises are here, which you are gonna develop from this session. Those are compassion and media literacy. In today's session, we will talk about the Indigo Rebellion, or you can say the Blue Rebellion. So here is the introduction of the Indigo Rebellion. The Indigo Rebellion or Neel Bidroh took place in Bengal in 1859 to 60 and was a revolt by the farmers against British planters who had forced them to grow indigo under terms that were greatly unfavorable to the farmers. Now, causes of the indigo rebellion, or you can say revolt. Indigo cultivation started in Bengal in 1777. Indigo was in high demand worldwide. Trade in indigo was lucrative due to the demand for blue dye in Europe. European planters enjoyed a monopoly over indigo and they forced Indian farmers to grow indigo by signing fraudulent deals with them. The cultivators were forced to grow indigo in place of food crops. They were advanced loans for this purpose. Once the farmers took loans, they could never repay it due to the high rates of interest. The tax rates were also exorbitant. The farmers were brutally oppressed if they could not pay the rent or refuse to do as asked by the planters. And here I want to mention that the planters were the Britishers. They also forced to sell indigo at non-profitable rates so as to maximize the European planters' profits. If a farmer refused to grow indigo and planted paddy, instead the planters restored, resorted to illegal means to get the farmer to grow indigo, such as looting and burning crops, kidnapping the farmer's family members, etc. The government always supported the planters who enjoyed many privileges and judicial immunities. So here you can see this is the picture of a indigo plant, indigo factory. Indigo rebellion. The indigo farmers revolted in the Nadia district of Bengal by refusing to grow indigo. They attacked the policemen who intervened. The planters, in response to this, increased the rents and evicted the farmers, which led to more agitations. In April 1860, all the farmers in the Barasat division of the districts Nadia and Pabna went on a strike and refused to grow indigo. The strike spread to other parts of Bengal. The farmers were led by the Viswas brothers of Nadia, Rafiq Mandal of Malda, and Kader Mola of Pabna. The revolt also received support from many zamindars, notably Ram Ratan Malik of Nadia. The revolt was suppressed and many farmers were slaughtered by the government and some of the zamindars. The revolt was backed by the Bengali intelligentsia, Muslims and the missionaries. The whole of the rural population supported the revolt. The press also supported the revolt and played its part in the portraying the plight of the farmers and fighting for their cause. The play Neel Darpan, The Mirror of Indigo by Deen Bandhu Mitra, written in 1858-59, portrayed the farmers' situation accurately. It showed how farmers were coerced into planting indigo without adequate payment. The play became a talking point and it urged the Bengali intelligentsia to lend support to the indigo revolt. Reverend James Long translated the play into English on the authority by the secretary to the governor of Bengal, W.S. Seton Kar. The planters who were treated as villains in the play sued Review Long for libel. Long was pronounced guilty and had to pay rupees 1000 as compensation and serve a month in prison. Now, here is the assessment of the Indigo Rebellion. The revolt was largely non-violent and it acted as a precursor to Gandhiji's non-violent satyagraha in later years. The revolt was not a spontaneous one. It was built up over years of oppression and suffering of the farmers at the hands of the planters and the government. Hindus and Muslims joined hands against their oppressors in this rebellion. It also saw the coming together of many zamindars with the riots or farmers. The revolt was a success despite its brutal quelling by the government. In response to the revolt, the government appointed the Indigo Commission in 1860. In the report, a statement read, "Not a chest of indigo reached England without being stained with human blood." A notification was also issued which stated that farmers could not be forced to grow indigo. By the end of 1860, indigo cultivation was literally washed away from Bengal since the planters closed their factories and left for good. The revolt was made immensely popular by its portrayal in the play Neel Darpan and also in many other works of the prose and poetry. This led to the revolt taking center stage in the political consensus of Bengal and impacted many later movements in Bengal. Now, we will talk about the Champaran Satyagraha. So here you can see the image of, in that image, you can see Gandhiji and lots of people are standing near the Gandhiji. So now you can understand that we are talking about the Gandhiji. We are going to talk about the Gandhiji. So Champaran Satyagraha, that is related to Gandhiji. You might be reading this in an air-conditioned room or car, shying away from the summer sun behind your pair of shades. 100 years ago, on a day very much like this, Mohandas Gandhiji traveled in a train with no AC to reach Champaran to hold India's first civil disobedience movement. Under the British rule, many farmers in the Champaran district of Bihar were forced to grow indigo in their lands, much to their dismay. To fight this, a moneylender named Rajkumar Shukla reached out to Gandhiji and requested him to come and help them. As Gandhiji wrote in his autobiography, he did not even know of Champaran before this. Nonetheless, he came down to this district on April 10th of 1917 with a band of lawyers, including Dr. Rajendra Prasad, to fight it out with the British. There had been the Indigo riots in 1859 to 60, but this was a new struggle altogether. Preparations began. Gandhiji and his lawyers traveled across the district to different villages, meeting farmers and taking note of their suffering and complaints against the forced indigo cultivation. Ever since Gandhiji arrived in Champaran, the British rulers started keeping a close eye on his moves. Finally, on April 15, he was given an ultimatum at Motihari by the commissioner to leave Champaran. To that, Gandhiji responded that he would not leave but was ready to bear the penalty of civil disobedience. It was apparent now that Gandhiji would be taken to jail for this resistance. As a response, scores of Champaran tenants turned up in protest outside the jail, police stations, and courts. In the end, troubled by this unusual form of resistance that spilled no violence, the government was forced to let go of Gandhiji. The country thus had its first direct object lesson in civil disobedience. Gandhiji wrote in his autobiography. The struggle against forced indigo cultivation continued. Now, however, the possibility of Gandhiji's arrest was more imminent. But he put together a plan, a chain of people who would take over the work if he or anyone after him was arrested. This way, the struggle would go on with or without him. The struggle went on, the civil disobedience continued. The protest and hunger strikes ultimately ended with the abolishing of the cultivation of indigo, or as it was known then, the Tinkathya system. The landlords under the British government were made to sign an agreement that granted the farmers more control over what they wanted to grow on their own lands, among other benefits. It was during this movement when Gandhiji was first referred to as Bapu and Mahatma, or so goes the legend. And this was the story of India's first civil disobedience movement. So this is the end of the chapter, and in today's session we talked about the Indigo Rebellion, the Blue Rebellion, or the Champaran Satyagraha. So we will meet again in the next session. Till then, goodbye. Stay home, stay safe, take care, children.